Hey everyone! Today my video is about natural birth and how to achieve a natural birth. I have 8 tips for you. When I say natural, I mean obviously vaginal, and unmedicated, meaning no drugs or interventions used. I have had 4 home births, unmedicated natural births, and I absolutely loved it. So I hope these tips help you if you are wanting to have a natural birth. Now, I have nothing against using epidural. If you want an epidural, go for that. If you need to have a C-section, that's fine. The ultimate goal is to get that baby out. But if you are interested and really want to try for a natural birth, here are some tips to help you get that goal. Tip number 1, choose a doctor or a midwife or OB who understands your goals and your want for a natural birth. So choose someone who is all for a natural birth, who's not quick to use an epidural and quick to give you an episiotomy and quick to put you on Pitocin, and just find someone who understands your goals. Tip number 2, have birth support partners at your birth who also understand what you want, who support you in that. So that may be a doula, it may just be your spouse, it may be a friend, it might be your mom. Find someone who supports you. A lot of people wanting natural birth go for a doula, and that is a great choice. A doula is someone who will help you. If you have a midwife, for instance, my midwives, they were definitely supportive of me, but they wanted to get that baby out, and that was their ultimate goal. A doula will help you. They will give you back massages. They will talk with you and help you through the labor. So that can be a great help. I can't speak from experience. I've never had a doula, but I have heard from others that is a great help. But even if you don't have a doula, make sure your spouse or your partner, your whoever's there to support you understands what you want. That way, when you are in the birth, when you are in labor, and let's say you do have a doctor who's quick to, okay, give you an episiotomy, and if you really didn't want that, your partner will say, no, don't, this mother does not want that, an episiotomy. And sometimes when you're in labor, you don't really have the mindset to be turning that down. Sometimes you don't even really realize what's going on. Or let's say you're in a lot of pain and you do want an epidural at the time, even though prior to labor you really didn't want one. Maybe your support person will say, no, remember, you didn't want an epidural, and help encourage you in that and help you meet your goals in that way. Tip number 3, give birth where you're most comfortable if possible. Here in Canada where I live, you can have a hospital birth, or in most provinces you can have a home birth. There are also many places where you can have a birth center birth. So if you have a midwife, you do have the option, most places here in Canada, of having a home birth. I have talked, and I had 4 home births and I loved that. I've talked to other people who have said, oh, home birth, I would be way too nervous to give birth at home. I'd be nervous that there'd be problems and I wouldn't be able to do it. I'd have to go to the hospital, and they'd have reasons why they didn't want to give birth at home. And if they are not comfortable giving birth at home, I would say don't give birth at home. You don't want to give birth where you're not comfortable, because your body won't be relaxed, you'll be tense, and you won't have a good experience, and you might need those interventions. If you have the option of a home birth or a birth center birth, which is a great alternative, and you don't want to give birth in the hospital, and the sounds of the hospital, all the machines, people talking, if that's going to be a big distraction for you and you're not going to be able to relax there, then try for a birth center birth or a home birth if you are a good candidate for that. And you want to be somewhere where you are comfortable. Tip number 4, read positive, inspiring birth stories prior to labor. This was something that really helped me. I had a couple of books. I will put a link down below with the title of those books. But one of the books was Ina May Gaskin's Guide to Childbirth. Another book was Journey into Motherhood. And those were both great books for me to read prior to my first child being born. I reread some of them with my 2nd, 3rd, and 4th pregnancies as well. But just to get my mind in the right place, inspiring birth stories. Don't read bad birth stories. You don't want to get those on your mind. But reading positive birth stories, good experiences, can give you ideas on how labor is going to go. It can give you positivity about what you can do. It was very empowering for me. Reading those stories, I thought, I can do this. I can totally do this. The more I read, the more I thought, the more stories I read, the more women I read about having babies, the more I realized I can do this. Oh yeah, I can totally do this. I can give birth to this baby. I don't need interventions. This is what I was meant to do. My body was made to do this. I can do this. So that was very helpful for me. Tip number 5, change your mindset about labor. I have heard so many women say, well, I don't think I'm going to get an epidural, but I'm going to go into labor and see how it goes. And if it gets too painful, then I might get an epidural. I've heard other women say, oh, well, I don't quite know what to plan for. I'm not going to write a birth plan. I don't know how my labor's going to go. So I'm just going to wait and see how it goes. If I need an epidural, okay, but I'll try to do it without one. To me, that is saying, I'm going to get an epidural. If you say, I am going to wait and see if the pain gets bad enough, the pain will get bad enough. Believe me, labor is so intense. The contractions can be very painful, but you can do it. And so if you go into labor saying, I'm not getting an epidural, it's not an option for me, that will really help you achieve that goal. Just don't even think of the epidural as an option. Pretend there's no such thing. And not to say nobody should get one, and if you do plan to get one, that's fine. But if you really don't want to have one, pretend that there's no such thing. Tip number 6, remember that each contraction is progress. Just remember, one contraction at a time. A contraction will last anywhere from a minute to a minute and a half, and that can be an intense minute to a minute and a half. But there are breaks. There's 2 to 3, sometimes 5 to 7 minutes in between those contractions. And just breathe through that contraction. Remember that a break is coming. Every contraction will bring you closer to meeting your baby. So don't think, okay, there's so many contractions left. How am I going to get through this? Just take one contraction at a time. Every contraction brings you closer to meeting your little bundle of joy. And that is so exciting. Instead of resisting pain, just embrace that pain, understanding and thinking that those contractions aren't tight, clenching, painful contractions, but those are openings. Every contraction is opening your cervix, effacing your cervix, getting you ready, getting room for that baby to be able to make its way out. Tip number 7, don't look at the clock. I've heard from a couple of people that they were told, take all clocks out of the room so that you don't look at the time at all when you're in labor. And I think that is an excellent idea. Don't focus on, oh, I've been in labor now. Oh, what time is it? I've been in labor for 8 hours already. How many hours am I going to be in labor still? I'm only this many centimeters dilated. How many more hours is it going to be? Is it going to be this morning? Is it going to be in the afternoon? Don't even think about that. Don't think about the time. Tip number 8. Move through labor. This is my last tip. Move through labor. Movement really helps your baby descend into the pelvis. It really also, at least for me, helped me to think about different things, help my mind to relax a little bit, and just help time to go by quicker as I was walking around. But most importantly, it does help that baby descend as you're walking and get lower, and labor in different positions. Don't just lay on your back. If you're stuck on your back and have an IV on you and monitors on you, that can really slow down labor, and it makes time really slow down. So if you can move through labor, that will help you a lot. I hope these tips were helpful for you. These were all things that were helpful for me, and I hope you can achieve that natural birth that you want. Once again, if you're aiming for a natural birth and you don't end up having one, you need a C-section, you need to be induced, you need to get an epidural, that's fine. You just want to get that baby out, and that's the ultimate goal. But for me, I loved that natural birth, and so if that's your goal as well, I hope these tips have helped you. So let me know in the comments below what kind of birth you are planning on. If you liked this video, please give it a big thumbs up. And if you subscribe, you will be notified when my next video comes out next Monday. Thank you so much for watching, guys. We'll see you next week. Bye.